The evening sun was sinking behind the jagged cliffs of the frontier world known as Kestra 9. Golden light spilled across the barren ground, painting the rocks with fire and shadow. Lieutenant Marcus Hale adjusted his visor and scanned the empty horizon. The colony had reported strange activity near the old alien ruins that lay a few kilometers to the east, and Command had ordered him to check it out. Marcus was a soldier, not an explorer, but he knew his job well. He walked carefully, his rifle slung across his chest, his eyes alert for movement. Kestra 9 was not a friendly world. The winds carried sharp dust that stung the skin, and the ground cracked under every step. Still, humans had made this place home. They always did. The ruins came into view as Marcus crested a low hill. They were enormous, broken towers of black stone, standing silent against the wind. No one knew who had built them. Some said it was the Serath, an ancient alien race known for their cold and proud nature. Others believed the structures were older than even the Serath. Either way, the place gave Marcus a strange feeling, like eyes were watching him from the shadows. He stepped into the ruins, his boots crunching on shattered stone. The air inside was cooler, damp with the smell of moss. Columns rose high around him, carved with symbols he could not read. The silence was heavy. Then he heard it, a sound that did not belong. It was faint at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. Then it grew clearer, a voice. No, not words, sobbing. Someone was crying. Marcus froze. His training told him to be cautious. Crying could be a trick, a trap set to lure him in. But the sound was so raw, so full of pain, that his instincts as a human being pushed him forward. He followed the sound deeper into the ruins, his rifle ready. The sobbing grew louder, echoing off the stone walls. He turned a corner and stopped dead. There, in the center of a broken hall, sat a figure. She was curled against a column, her body trembling. Her long silver hair glowed faintly in the dim light, and her skin shimmered with a pale blue hue. Her clothes, though torn and dirty, carried the elegant style of the Serath people. Marcus blinked. A Serath here? The Serath were not supposed to be anywhere near this colony. They kept to their own territories far across the stars. They were known for their pride, their arrogance, their distance from other species, especially humans. To see one here alone and weeping was shocking. Before Marcus could speak, the woman lifted her head. Her eyes were bright violet, filled with tears. When she saw him, she gasped and staggered to her feet. For a moment he thought she would run. Instead, she stumbled forward, and before he could react, she collapsed against him, clinging tightly to his armor. Marcus stiffened in surprise. The Serath were never known to touch humans, not even a handshake. But this woman pressed her face against his chest, her shoulders shaking as she wept uncontrollably. He stood there, frozen, unsure what to do. His training did not cover this. A Serath woman clinging to him and crying. It was unthinkable. Hey, he said softly, his voice careful. It's okay. You're safe. She shook her head, her words broken between sobs. Her language was unfamiliar, but Marcus's translator chip caught enough to form meaning. Please, don't leave me, she whispered. Please, Marcus's heart tightened. He had faced battles, storms, and dangers that tested his courage, but nothing struck him harder than the sound of pure fear in another's voice, especially from someone who was supposed to be proud and untouchable. Slowly, he lowered his rifle and placed a hand on her shoulder. I'm not going anywhere, he told her. You're safe with me. Her grip only tightened. Minutes passed before her sobs began to soften. Marcus guided her gently to sit down on a fallen block of stone. She kept close to him, her eyes darting around the shadows like she feared something might leap out at any moment. He studied her carefully. She was thinner than the Serath he had seen in holovids, as if she had not eaten properly in days. Her clothes bore signs of travel and struggle. Her hands shook when she tried to brush tears from her face. What happened to you? Marcus asked. The woman swallowed, her throat working hard before she spoke. Her words were broken, but the translator pieced them together. I had no choice. They are gone. All gone. Marcus frowned. Who is gone? She closed her eyes. My people. My family, everyone, her voice cracked. The swarm. It took them. Marcus's mind sharpened at the word. The swarm. Rumors had spread through human channels about a parasitic species that moved like a plague across systems, consuming everything in its path. Until now, it had been distant whispers, horrors told secondhand. To hear a Serath speak of it directly was something else entirely. But before he could ask more, she lifted her gaze to him. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you not turn me away?" Marcus blinked. "What do you mean?" "You are human," she said, her voice trembling. "My people told us humans are selfish, weak, that you only help yourselves. I expected you to leave me here." Marcus felt a strange mixture of anger and pity. Anger at the arrogance of her people, pity for the broken woman before him. "We don't leave people behind," he said simply. Her eyes widened slightly, as if those words were more alien to her than she was to him. For the first time, her tears slowed. She studied him with wonder and confusion. The walk back to the colony was slow. The alien woman, whose name Marcus had not yet learned, leaned heavily on him for support. The desert winds blew dust into their faces, but she did not let go of his arm. She walked like someone who had finally found a lifeline after drowning. When they reached the gates, the human guards gawked. Murmurs spread quickly through the colony. A Serath woman had arrived, and she was clinging to a human soldier like her life depended on it. Marcus ignored the stares. He guided her to the medical bay, where the doctors rushed forward with questions. She refused to release his hand, her violet eyes wide with fear whenever anyone came too close. "She won't let go," one of the medics whispered. Marcus sighed. "Then let her stay by me." That night, as the colony lights flickered against the dark sky, Marcus sat by her bedside. She slept uneasily, her hand still gripping his glove. He looked at her face, softened in sleep, and felt a strange weight on his chest. Something was deeply wrong. Something bigger than he understood. The medical bay smelled of antiseptic and warm machines. The hum of equipment filled the room as Marcus Hale watched over the Serath woman. She slept fitfully, her small frame twisting under the blankets, her hand still held tightly to his glove, as if letting go could mean the end of her world. Marcus sat quietly, waiting. He had seen fear in humans many times, but this was different. This was a creature from another species, someone his people had long regarded as distant and superior, and yet here she was, vulnerable and clinging to him as though he alone could protect her. When the sun rose over Kestra 9, painting the horizon in pink and gold, she stirred, her eyes opened slowly, revealing the violet glow that seemed almost unnatural to human sight. She blinked at Marcus and whispered, "You stayed." "I did," Marcus said. "You were scared. You needed help." She nodded, biting her lip. "You do not understand. My people, they are gone. All of them. And she paused, shaking. "I survived." Marcus leaned closer. "Survived? What happened?" Her lips quivered. For a long moment, she just stared at the floor. Then finally she spoke, her voice trembling but steady enough for the translator to catch. "The swarm," she said. "It came on and it destroyed everything. My home, my family, my people. I was too slow. I ran." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The swarm was no ordinary enemy. Humans had only heard rumors, whispers from distant colonies, creatures that spread like wildfire, consuming technology, life, and even planets themselves. To hear her confirm the stories made it real, terrifying, and immediate. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. I can't imagine what that was like." She shook her head violently. "You cannot. You do not understand. My people, we are proud. We do not beg. We do not ask for help. But I had no choice. If I had not fled, I would be dead. If I had not found you—" Her voice broke and she began to weep quietly again. Marcus placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You are safe now. No one is going to hurt you here." Her tears slowed and she looked up at him, her eyes searching. Why do you care? You are human, my people. They told me humans are weak, selfish. She stopped, her voice trembling. That humans only think of themselves. Marcus shook his head. "We're not perfect. But we don't leave people behind. No matter what." She stared at him for a long time, and for a moment Marcus thought she might not believe him. Then she spoke, almost in a whisper. "I never thought anyone would care. Not like this." Over the next few hours, she told her story in fragments, halting and broken but full of raw fear and sorrow. Her name, Marcus learned, was Kaelin. She was not an ordinary Serath. She was the daughter of a high counselor, one of the most influential leaders of her people. Kaelin described the swarm's arrival. At first, they thought it was a minor outbreak. Strange shadows moving across the city. Whispers of machines failing, people disappearing. Her family attempted to fight it, but the swarm adapted too quickly. Their weapons were useless. Their ships could not outrun it. Within days, entire settlements were gone. We could not stop it, Kaylin said, her voice breaking. My father, my mother, my siblings, gone. Everyone gone. And I fled. I ran. Marcus listened in silence. He wanted to comfort her, but the words seemed too small against the weight of her grief. Instead, he offered his presence, which seemed enough for her. She leaned against him, exhausted, tears streaking her pale blue skin. When she had rested, Marcus guided her to a small observation room overlooking the colony. The human city sprawled below them, lights flickering in the soft morning haze. Children played near the water tanks. Engineers moved in and out of transport ships, and soldiers trained in the distance. Why did you come here? Marcus asked. Kaylin swallowed. I had no choice. The swarm. It will not stop. It moves too fast, too far. If I had stayed, I would be dead. If I had tried to fight alone, I would have failed. She paused, staring at the human settlement. I came here because humans, you, might help me. Marcus felt a surge of anger and disbelief. Help her? Her people had looked down on humans for generations, yet here she was, begging for aid. You came because of us? He asked cautiously. Kaylin's gaze met his. I saw your people. I saw how you fight for each other, how you care for one another. Even strangers, I have never seen anything like it. My people, pride rules everything. We cannot ask for help. We cannot admit fear, but I could not survive alone, and I trusted you. Marcus could not hide his astonishment. She trusted him, a human, and yet in her eyes he saw something else, something he had never expected. Respect. Hope. Days passed, and Marcus helped Kaylin adjust to the human colony. She was quiet and reserved, still haunted by what she had seen. But she observed humans closely, learning about their ways, their courage, their resourcefulness. The humans, in turn, were curious. Scientists and engineers came to study her technology, trying to understand the ruins she had escaped from. They asked her about her people, about their history, their culture, their ships and weapons. Kaylin answered cautiously, wary of revealing too much. Yet the human willingness to listen, to value her knowledge, surprised her. One evening, Marcus and Kaylin walked along the edge of the colony, overlooking the dark expanse of Kestra 9. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light on the barren ground below. You humans, Kaylin began, hesitating. You are different. I expected weakness, fear, selfishness, but you fight for each other. You protect each other. Even strangers, why? Marcus shrugged. I don't know if I can explain it. Maybe it's because we've had to survive together. Maybe it's because we know that no one can make it alone. Maybe it's just who we are. Kaylin studied him, her violet eyes searching. I have never seen such courage. My people. Pride blinded us. We thought power alone would protect us. But as I see now that it is not power alone. It is the will to act, the will to care, that makes your people strong. Marcus felt a warmth in his chest. He had faced battles, storms, and countless dangers, but nothing compared to the weight of responsibility he felt for this alien woman. She had trusted him, relied on him, and in return he would do everything in his power to help her. But even as they walked, a shadow of fear remained. The swarm was still out there. Kaylin's words, the panic in her voice, haunted him. If it had taken her people so easily, what chance did they have if the swarm came to this colony? He did not speak of it aloud. Kaylin did not ask. Yet both understood that the peace of the colony was temporary. Danger would arrive, and when it did, humans and Serath alike would have to stand together or fall apart. That night, Kaylin returned to the medical bay, her thoughts restless. She stared out at the stars, her hands clenched. She had survived, yes, but survival alone was not enough. Her people had fallen because they refused to change, refused to rely on anyone but themselves. Humans. Humans had taught her something new. Marcus entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of water. He handed one to her without a word. Kaylin accepted it, and they sat together in silence, watching the twin moons drift across the sky. Finally, she spoke. I owe you. More than I can say. You saved me, not just my life, but my hope. Marcus smiled faintly. Then maybe we can save more than hope. Maybe we can save your people. Maybe we can stop the swarm. Kalen looked at him, eyes wide. Stop the swarm? That is impossible. It destroyed worlds. It destroyed everything we had. Even humans, even you, cannot stop it. Marcus shook his head, determination hardening in his chest. Maybe not alone. But we are not alone. Not anymore. Kalen's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She had to. For the first time since she had fled her home, she felt a spark of something new. Trust. Faith. And the faintest, most fragile hope that perhaps her tears would not be the last. The days following Kalen's arrival passed in a tense rhythm. The colony's engineers, medics, and soldiers moved with quiet urgency, repairing structures and maintaining defenses. Rumors of the swarm lingered in every corridor, every doorway. Humans whispered in hushed tones, unsure whether to believe the stories she had told, or whether it was only fear speaking. Kalen spent most of her time observing. She would not eat much, only enough to keep her body alive, and she rarely spoke unless directly addressed. But her eyes never left the humans. She watched them in the training yards, in the labs, in the common areas where families gathered after long days. Humans were noisy, chaotic, imperfect, and yet she saw something in them she had never experienced among her own people. They fought for each other. They healed one another. They laughed even in danger. Marcus had expected skepticism from his own people regarding Kalen, but the level of unease surprised him. Many humans were wary, distrustful. Some whispered that she might be a spy, that her presence could bring danger. The Serath had always been powerful, and their species' technology far surpassed human engineering. To let one into the colony without strict oversight was risky, yet Marcus refused to turn her away. She survived because of us, he reminded his colleagues during a strategy meeting. Not because she's stronger, not because she's smarter, but because she trusted us. And if the swarm comes here, we might need that trust more than ever. Still, resistance remained. Colonel Vega, the colony's commander, frowned as she reviewed Kalen's case. You want to trust her, she said, but we have no idea what she's capable of, or what her people want from us. What if she leads them here for something worse? Marcus clenched his fists. She isn't like that. She came to us because she had no choice. She came because she saw us helping each other. And she trusted me. Vega shook her head. Trusting someone is one thing. Accepting them into our operations is another. Her people have looked down on humans for centuries. We don't even know if they'll fight with us, if they'll fight at all. Marcus turned away, frustration mounting. He had grown used to the skepticism. Humans had survived because they doubted themselves, but Kalen, fragile and broken as she was, seemed to see the best in them. She believed that humans could be strong not through pride or weapons, but through courage, compassion, and unity. Kalen noticed the tension in the human ranks. She felt eyes on her whenever she walked through corridors. Whispers followed her steps. Some humans avoided her entirely, as if her presence carried danger. She wanted to tell them the truth. She was not here to spy, not here to bring harm. She was here because she had nowhere else to go. But she could not. Pride, ingrained in her through a lifetime of Serath training, prevented her from explaining fully. Her culture demanded silence in the face of fear, composure in the face of death, pride in the face of failure. To reveal her vulnerability, or to explain her actions, was unthinkable. She remained quiet, watching, learning, and slowly understanding the humans. It was Marcus who broke the silence one evening. He found her on the observation deck, gazing out at the twin moons that hung low over Kestra 9. The air was cold, carrying the metallic scent of the distant cliffs. You're quiet today, he said. Kalen did not turn immediately. I am thinking, she said softly. Of my people, of what has happened, of what may come. Marcus nodded. The swarm isn't finished. We both know that. She sighed, a sound that seemed foreign and fragile. I have never seen fear like this. In humans, you do not have my technology. You do not have my weapons. You do not have the skills my people have mastered. And yet, her violet eyes met his. You survive. You endure. You fight even when death is near. You protect each other. I do not understand how. Marcus smiled faintly. It's not about technology. Not really. We fight because we have to. We fight because we care. Because leaving someone behind is never an option. Kalen studied him. For the first time, She allowed herself to truly believe that humans might be more than her people had ever imagined. Pride had blinded the Serath. Their arrogance made them see strength in power and weaponry alone. But humans were different. Their strength lay in something her people could not measure: heart. Yet despite the growing bond, Kaylin felt a fracture forming within herself. Her own people, if they survived, would see her actions as betrayal. She had relied on humans. She had trusted them. And that was unthinkable to the Serath. "I fear them," she admitted one night, speaking to Marcus quietly. "Not the humans, but my people. If they find out what I have done, they will call me weak. They will call me foolish. They may even punish me." Marcus placed a hand on hers. "Then we make sure that doesn't happen. We'll prove that humans can help and that you are not weak. You're the opposite. You're brave enough to survive. Brave enough to trust when everything tells you not to." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were not only from grief, they were tears of relief, of understanding. Marcus's words, his faith in her, reminded her that survival was more than running. Survival was action, courage, unity. The tension between species did not wait long. Scouts reported movement in the distance. A small group of Serath survivors approaching the colony. Kaylin stiffened at the news. These were not friendly faces. They were her people, prideful and unyielding, expecting her to return to them. She turned to Marcus. "They will not understand," she whispered. "They will see that I relied on humans. That I survived because of them. They will call me traitor. They will call me weak." Marcus nodded. "Then we prepare. If they come peacefully, we welcome them. If not, we'll make sure they understand humans are not to be underestimated." Kaylin swallowed hard. She wanted to protest, to hide, to flee. But she remembered the humans she had watched, the engineers, the soldiers, the children, and she remembered Marcus's words. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was acting despite it. The next day, the Serath survivors arrived. They were tall, silver-skinned, their movements precise and controlled. They did not look at the humans directly. Their eyes were cold, assessing. Kaylin stepped forward, holding her hand slightly raised. "Kaylin," one of them said sharply, his voice commanding and hard, "you have betrayed our people. Why are you here? Why have you trusted them?" Kaylin stood firm, her voice trembling only slightly. "I survived," she said. "I came here because my people. We cannot fight the swarm alone. You may call it betrayal, but this is the only chance we have to survive. Humans, they are stronger than you believe." The Serath leader's eyes narrowed. "Stronger? How can humans, primitive and fragile, help us against the swarm?" Marcus stepped forward, his hand resting on the rifle at his side. "Maybe not alone," he said, "but together? We have a chance. And if we work together, we can survive. I've seen what humans can do. I've seen how we protect each other, even in impossible situations. You may not believe it, but it's true." The Serath leader glared at Marcus, clearly unaccustomed to being spoken to by a human. Kaylin watched nervously, waiting for the judgment that could decide her fate. Then, slowly, something unexpected happened. A few of the Serath survivors lowered their weapons slightly. They whispered among themselves, casting uncertain glances at Kaylin and Marcus. It was the first crack in the wall of pride and distrust that had always separated their species from humans. Kaylin's chest swelled with cautious hope. Maybe, just maybe, the humans could help her people. Maybe she had made the right choice, but even as hope flickered, fear lingered. The swarm was still out there, moving like a shadow across the stars, and no alliance, no strategy, no courage could guarantee safety. Marcus noticed the tension in Kaylin's hands and squeezed them gently. "We'll get through this," he said quietly. "Together," Kaylin nodded. "Together," she repeated, almost like a promise. The rift between the species had begun to narrow, but the battle for survival was only starting. And soon, both humans and Serath would face the test that would decide not just Kaylin's fate, but the fate of countless worlds. The colony was quiet at dawn, the pale light of Kestra 9 spilling across the rocky plains. For a moment it seemed peaceful. Marcus Hale stood on the observation deck with Kaylin beside him, scanning the horizon. But the calm was false. Scouts had reported movement, a dark, shifting mass creeping across the distant hills. The swarm was coming, faster and closer than anyone had predicted. Marcus felt a chill in his chest. He had faced dangers before, but nothing compared to this. The swarm was not just an enemy, it was a force of destruction, relentless and hungry, and it was approaching the colony. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked Kaylin. She nodded, her violet eyes steely despite the fear she felt inside. "I will do what I can," she said. "But this may be more than we can stop." Marcus shook his head. "We'll stop it, together." The colony erupted into motion. Sirens wailed as humans and Serath alike mobilized for defense. Engineers hurried to reinforce walls, set up turrets, and rig improvised traps. Soldiers took positions along the perimeter, rifles and plasma guns ready. Kaylin moved among the humans, her knowledge of Serath technology helping them set up energy shields and scanning arrays. For many humans, this was the first time they had seen a real Serath work alongside them as an equal. Her presence, once a source of suspicion, now became an invaluable asset. Marcus watched her from the command center, noting how she gave instructions, corrected errors, and even comforted frightened recruits. She was learning what it meant to trust, and in doing so, she was teaching the humans as well. The first wave of the swarm appeared just before noon. Shadows moved over the hills, a rolling, writhing mass of dark shapes that seemed almost alive. The ground trembled as the creatures approached, their multiple limbs scraping against the rocks. They were unlike any life Marcus had ever seen, mechanical yet organic, alien and horrifying. "Open fire!" Marcus shouted, rallying the soldiers. Energy beams and plasma bolts streaked across the battlefield. Explosions rocked the ground as traps and mines were detonated. The swarm pressed forward relentlessly, adapting quickly to human defenses. Some soldiers fell, others were thrown back by the sheer force of the creatures. Marcus fired his rifle, his aim precise but the numbers overwhelming. Kaylin moved with him, her own energy weapon glowing as she targeted the creature's weak points. "Focus on the joints," she shouted, her voice cutting over the chaos. "That is where they are vulnerable." Marcus followed her guidance. Humans and Serath moved together, their efforts slowly pushing back the first wave. Yet Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The swarm was clever, unpredictable, and it would not stop. Hours passed. The sun dipped low in the sky, painting the battlefield in orange and red. Marcus's uniform was scorched and bloodied, his body exhausted from endless combat. Yet he could not stop. He could not let the swarm reach the colony's inner perimeter. Kaylin fought beside him, moving with grace and precision. Despite her fear, she was calm under fire, directing humans to reinforce weak points, guiding the soldiers to use the terrain to their advantage. Marcus glanced at her, and for a moment he saw not a fragile, weeping alien, but a warrior, someone who had faced unimaginable loss and chosen to fight anyway. A particularly large creature broke through the outer defenses, towering over the soldiers. Its limbs struck the ground with the force of a falling boulder, throwing humans off balance. Marcus fired repeatedly, but it barely slowed. Kaylin's eyes widened. "Marcus, behind you!" He turned just in time to see another creature lunging. He dove to the side, rolling as the beast crashed to the ground where he had been standing moments before. Kaylin fired a precise shot at the creature's core, and it screeched, collapsing in a heap of writhing limbs. Marcus looked at her, admiration and gratitude mingling with exhaustion. "We make a good team," he said breathlessly. Kaylin allowed herself a brief smile. Perhaps humans are not so weak after all. The battle raged into the night. Both humans and Serath sustained heavy losses, but neither side faltered. Marcus and Kaylin led a strike team to the front lines, taking calculated risks to hold the swarm at bay. They set traps, detonated explosives, and improvised strategies that relied on human ingenuity as much as Serath technology. At one point, a group of swarm creatures broke through a weak section of the colony wall. Marcus knew if they reached the civilian quarters, many would die. Without hesitation, he charged forward, firing relentlessly. Kaylin followed, blasting the creature's limbs with precise energy beams. One of the creatures lunged at Marcus, striking him in the shoulder. He fell to the ground, pain radiating through his arm, but he continued to fire. Kaylin saw the danger and acted instantly. She tackled him aside, pushing him out of harm's way and delivering a focused shot that took down the beast. Marcus gasped, clutching his arm. "You saved me." Kaylin shook her head. "No, we saved each other." By midnight, the swarm had been pushed back. The colony was battered, buildings scorched, and casualties were high, but humans and Serath still stood. Marcus looked over the battlefield, seeing soldiers tending the wounded, engineers repairing barriers, and Kaelin moving among them, offering help wherever she could. The Sarath leader who had arrived earlier approached Kaelin, his expression unreadable. "I underestimated your humans," he said quietly. "I doubted them, and I doubted you. But you have shown courage and skill. Perhaps I was wrong." Kaelin nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. "Humans are not perfect," she said. "But they endure. They fight, they care. That is what makes them strong." Marcus watched the exchange and felt a surge of pride. Humans had proven themselves, not through superior technology, not through raw power, but through courage, creativity, and heart. Kaelin had seen it firsthand, and even the proudest Sarath could not ignore it. As the first light of dawn broke, the last remnants of the swarm retreated over the horizon. The colony was safe for now. Marcus and Kaelin stood side by side, surveying the damage. The ground was scarred, smoke rose from ruined buildings, and the air carried the acrid smell of battle. But the humans were alive. The Sarath survivors were alive, and together they had stood against a threat that could have destroyed them all. Kaelin turned to Marcus, her violet eyes softening. I feared for my life," she said quietly. "But you gave me hope. You showed me that humans are not weak, that they can be stronger than anyone believes." Marcus shook his head. "No, we just refuse to give up. That's what makes us strong. You saw it yourself today." She smiled faintly, a rare, genuine expression. "Then perhaps my people will see it too. And perhaps I can return to them not as someone weak, but as someone who learned from humans." Marcus looked at her, hope filling his chest. The battle had tested them all, but it had also changed them. Humans and Sarath alike had discovered something new. That strength was not only in power or pride, but in courage, unity, and compassion. The swarm had been beaten back, but Marcus knew it was only temporary. They would return, and when they did, humans and Sarath would face them together. Kaelin squeezed his hand, her touch steady despite everything. "Thank you, Marcus," she whispered, "for saving me, and for showing me what true strength is." Marcus nodded. "We saved each other," he repeated. And in that moment, both understood the truth. The battle was won not just with weapons or technology, but with courage, trust, and the unbreakable human spirit. The dawn after the battle was quiet, almost peaceful. Smoke still curled from damaged buildings, and the air smelled of scorched earth. But the human colony had survived. The survivors moved among the ruins, tending to the wounded and repairing what they could. Even in destruction, there was order. Humans always rebuilt. Marcus Hale walked through the colony with Kaelin at his side. The alien woman had become calmer, more composed. She moved with a purpose, helping distribute supplies, giving instructions, and encouraging the soldiers. The battle had changed her. The broken, weeping creature that had clung to him only days ago was now a leader in her own right. Someone who had seen fear and chosen courage. But Marcus knew her struggle was not over. Kaelin's people had seen her choice, her trust in humans. Many of them would not understand, would not forgive. Pride was still a heavy chain around their hearts even after the swarm had retreated. The Sarath Council arrived later that day. Their ships descended slowly, sleek and shining, contrasting sharply with the battered human structures below. Kaelin watched from the observation deck as the council stepped onto the platform, their faces unreadable, their eyes sharp with judgment. "You have chosen humans," the council leader said without preamble, his voice cold. "You have allied with a weaker species. Explain yourself." Kaelin stood tall, her shoulders straight, her voice steady. "I survived," she said. "I survived because humans fought alongside me. Because humans showed me courage, unity, and compassion. That is why I trusted them. That is why I remain here." The council murmured among themselves. Some members scowled, others looked shocked. None expected Kaelin to speak with such confidence. None expected her to defy centuries of Sarath tradition. "You call this strength?" another counselor asked. "Relying on humans? Clinging to them?" Kaelin met their gaze. "Yes, because strength is not in pride alone. Strength is in action. Strength is in courage, in the will to protect others, and in the willingness to stand against impossible odds. Humans have shown that today. I have seen it with my own eyes, and I will not abandon it." The council was silent. Kaelin had spoken truth, and even the proudest among them could not deny it. Marcus stood beside her, feeling the weight of the moment. Humans had proved themselves not by claiming superiority, but by living it. By fighting together, by refusing to give up, by showing heart. Later in the command center, Marcus and Kalen reviewed the battle's aftermath. Casualties had been high on both sides, but the colony had survived. Supplies would last, defenses had held, and the humans had learned to work with Serath technology. Kalen studied the data carefully, her eyes tracing energy readings and patterns. "Your people are resourceful," she said. "You adapt quickly. Even with limited technology, you find solutions." Marcus shrugged. "We have to. Life doesn't wait for perfect conditions. You improvise, you endure, you fight. That's all we know." Kalen smiled faintly. "I see now why humans survive when others fall. You do not rely on pride alone. You rely on courage, unity, and hope. That is remarkable." Marcus glanced at her, his eyes softening. "You've learned that too. You've seen what humans can do, and you've helped us survive. You're part of this now." For a moment, Kalen allowed herself to believe it. She had been broken, alone, and terrified. Now she had a place. Humans had accepted her not just as an ally, but as someone whose courage mattered. Days turned into weeks, and life slowly returned to the colony. Rebuilding was arduous, but humans excelled at hardship. They worked tirelessly, often side by side with Serath survivors who had finally started to trust them. Kalen assisted wherever she could, her presence becoming a symbol of the new alliance between species. One evening, Marcus and Kalen stood outside the command center, watching the sunset paint the sky in streaks of gold and violet. The battle had tested them all, but it had also forged something stronger than fear or pride. It had created trust, respect, and a bond between humans and Serath that neither side had expected. "You have changed my perspective," Kalen admitted softly. "I came here expecting to find weakness, to find selfishness. But I have found strength, not just in weapons or technology, but in people. In humans, in you." Marcus smiled. "Humans are like that. We don't always understand it ourselves, but when the time comes, we show what we're capable of. And we fight for each other." Kalen's gaze lingered on him. I am grateful for your help, your trust, and your courage. You have saved more than my life. You have saved my hope." Marcus nodded. "Then let's make sure we keep it alive. For your people, for us, for everyone who may face the swarm next." As the night settled over Kestra 9, Kalen walked among the humans in the colony, offering guidance, comfort, and knowledge. She saw families laugh, children run freely, and soldiers training tirelessly. She began to understand the full depth of what humans offered, not just strength, but determination, unity, and the will to endure. The Serath Council, though reluctant, began to acknowledge the value of humans. Some of the younger members, inspired by Kalen's courage, spoke openly about the importance of alliances, of learning from others, of survival through cooperation rather than pride alone. Kalen's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and hope. She had survived, yes, but she had also learned a lesson her people had long ignored. Pride without compassion could not save anyone. Courage without unity could not endure. And humans, despite all their flaws, embodied these truths in ways she had never imagined. Weeks later, Marcus and Kalen stood together on the observation deck once more. The colony was still scarred, but it was alive, and so were its people. They had survived the swarm, and in doing so, had forged a new alliance between humans and Serath. Kalen looked at Marcus, her violet eyes reflecting the twin moons above. "I do not know what the future holds," she said softly, "but I know this, humans. They have shown me something I never expected. Something I will carry with me always." Marcus placed a hand on hers. "Then carry it with pride, and we'll face the future together, whatever comes." Kalen nodded. Together. The bond between them was no longer one of fear or desperation. It was a bond forged in battle, trust, and shared courage. Humans had proven themselves to the galaxy once more, not through arrogance or superiority, but through the power of heart, unity, and perseverance. And Kalen, once a broken and weeping alien, had become a bridge between species, a symbol of hope, and a living testament to the strength of humanity. The stars twinkled above, distant and eternal, but on Kestra 9, something new had taken root. Hope, courage, unity, and a future where humans and aliens could stand together, stronger than either could alone. As Marcus watched Kalen walk among the colonists, He realized that this was more than victory. It was a beginning. A new chapter, not just for the humans, not just for the Serath, but for all who would witness the courage of a species that refused to surrender to fear.